Hey, it's Dr. Ernst, host of the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. Did you miss Heart Heal Thyself? It was an online masterclass where I took hundreds of people here in Charlotte through a natural approach to solving blood pressure, cholesterol, elevated triglycerides, palpitations, arrhythmias, any heart health issues using functional medicine and a natural approach. We talked about how subluxation is a neurological interference that can dysregulate heart function. We discussed how leaky gut is a leading known perpetuating factor behind hypertension and cholesterol issues and even palpitations and arrhythmias. We even discussed how toxic heavy metals, glyphosate, and other pesticides and herbicides can disrupt cardiovascular function, and your cardiologists are not addressing these three functional causes. If you'd like to watch the replay to this event, simply text the word replay with your name and email to 704-906-2094. We'll send the masterclass over to you for free today. You can become a champion for your heart health. All you have to do is send your name, your email, the word replay to 704-906-2094.
Beyond wine, we really care about health. The health of the planet and the health of each other. That's what inspired us to start this business. Our family of team members meets every morning for a group meditation, followed by an open gratitude session. We believe a sound mind with a focus on peace is the best instrument for change. Joint meditation is the cornerstone of our company culture, and it helps us remember what's important, spreading joy and love, just like our family growers. Our family is a collection of passionate, health-conscious individuals who love to laugh and enjoy each other's company. We eat seasonally, grow our own vegetables, cook together, and share wine. Our team is incredibly dedicated to our mission. Everything from sourcing the wines to answering service questions. Your natural wines are found and sourced around the world by our wine team. They taste every one, oversee their lab testing, and choose exactly which ones go in which box. If you order, your individual box will be packed by our incredibly hardworking fulfillment team. If you have any questions, your service requests will be handled by a wonderfully loving member experience family who only have one goal in mind, your 100% happiness. This video is put together by our talented media team, filmed and edited in-house, just like the rest of our artful media. From our unique creations to our printed lifestyle piece called A Matter of Taste. We put love into everything we do, and we hope to share it with you.
Would you like to experience a better night's sleep? Want to feel well rested and ready for your day? Discover an amazing solution with Celient Sleep Recovery. Our Celient Sleep Recovery products are made from a patented yarn embedded with a blend of 13 infrared active minerals. Celient technology never washes out. The benefits will last for their entire lifespan. Minerals reflect the body's own energy by using Celient infrared active technology, boosting your oxygen levels and improving circulation to reach REM sleep gracefully. Our customers love to comfortably sleep throughout the night because of Celient. We've conducted 9 independent clinical studies by well-respected scientific institutions and universities that prove the many positive effects Celient has on the body. Our technology is designed to help you achieve a refreshing sleep recovery. Get into bed to experience our smooth Celient Egyptian cotton blend sheets. Protect your mattress against the sands of time with our Celient mattress protectors. With our pillow protectors, you get the benefits of our recovery therapy. Explore new places and feel well rested throughout your journeys. Discover luxurious support that allows you to sleep in almost any position. Neck blankets are small and compact. You can bring them with you just about anywhere. Experience the foundation your body deserves. Start waking up refreshed and always ready for the day ahead. It's time to achieve the best sleep of your life to unlock your hidden potential. Start experiencing a better night's sleep with our Celient Sleep Recovery products today. Celient. Recycle your body's energy.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy Saturday. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. My name is Dr. Aaron Ernst, and today is a show where pounds are shed, disease is dead, and where you get to be set free from your health problems. As always, the Ask Dr. Ernst Show exists to teach you how to become your own doctor, searching after functional root causes. And man, am I coming in hot today. We had our Heart Disease Heal Thyself Masterclass this morning. Over 400 people online learning how to lower blood pressure, lower triglycerides, working on cholesterols, taking a holistic and natural approach to solving heart health issues. And I have a special gift for you. If you missed the masterclass, we talked about how you can become your own cardiologist, how you can take your heart health into your own hands and solving it using functional medicine. There is a free replay available to you right now. Simply text the word replay with your name and email to 704-906-2094. The number is 704-906-2094. I recorded the entire event. We'll send it to you this weekend. You can watch it and learn how to take active steps to reversing blood pressure issues, cholesterol problems, elevated triglycerides, fatty liver, and anything that has to do with global heart health. Again, text the word heart replay to 704-906-2094. Don't forget to include your name and email, and my team will send it over to you, and you guys can watch that this weekend. And as we shift gears, I want to talk today about a topic that is affecting estimated up to 37 million Americans and growing at an alarming rate. It is this concept that diabetes is no longer just about a sugar problem. It's an epidemic that's becoming a metabolic issue affecting so many Americans. If you've been told your fasting blood sugar is creeping up, or your A1C is elevated, or maybe you've already been diagnosed as being pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, this show is for you. We're going to teach you how to no longer keep managing this condition, no more finger sticks and or injections or medications to try to just simply keep your sugars under control. I'm going today to show you how the conventional approach is failing and how they'll describe it as either a genetic issue or a sugar problem, and we're going to let you know that there is a way out. It is often a functional breakdown of either your nervous system, your gut, your detox pathways, your metabolic system as a whole, or your stress response. So we're going to dive deep into the top 5 real causes of diabetes. And guys, we're not talking about blaming them on your genetics or on the fact that you eat too much sugar. We're going to be discussing how these 5 root causes are the underlying trigger that elevates blood sugars and prevents your body from being able to burn that for energy, thus getting diagnosed as diabetes. So I'm going to show you these top 5 causes that everyone is not talking about. And in the second half of the show, I'm going to give you natural solutions for each of those 5 so you can implement them and start to correct your blood sugars now. You can take prediabetes and make it disappear. You can even potentially take type 2 diabetes and make it disappear if you go to the root cause. So before we talk about that, also just note that all during the show today, I'm giving away a free copy of our updated Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook. Inside this ebook, you'll find every single thing I'm talking about on our show today, plus some tips and guides with diet and supplements and other methods that you can solve your diabetes. If you'd like to grab a copy of this, real simple, text the word diabetes with your name and email to 704-906-2094. That's diabetes to 704-906-2094 with your name and email. And as a special gift, we talked about it today, 400 people on our Heart Disease Heal Thyself Masterclass. Saturday, March 8th, I'm going to do the same thing for those of you who are sick and tired of injecting insulin or pricking your fingers, looking at your blood sugar numbers and being frustrated, popping pills with ever solving the problem. We're hosting Diabetes Heal Thyself, Saturday, March 8th. It's at 10 a.m. in the morning. It's a free online masterclass. I would love to take you through the corrective steps so you can break free from this condition known as diabetes. Again, text the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. The ebook is yours for free. The masterclass on Saturday, March 8th is yours for free. And let's get going. Okay, so before we talk about the functional causes, I want to make sure that we're clear on how currently diabetes is being diagnosed and what lab markers you need to know about and what lab markers your doctors are not running that you definitely need to know about. If you don't understand these numbers, you won't understand the healing direction And we need to make sure that you're heading in the right path when it comes to correcting a condition like diabetes. There are 3 major markers that are often looked at for pre-diabetic or diabetes. The first, I think it makes sense, fasting blood sugars. We need to see when you wake up in the morning how much sugar is residually floating around in your blood. This is the amount of blood that is there after you fast for at least 8 hours, and the amount of sugar in that blood. The normal range upon waking up should be between 70 and 90. So if you're someone who is waking up in the morning, checking your blood sugars and seeing 100, 110, 125, that is a risk factor that you're already developing insulin resistance, and you would be labeled as what's called pre-diabetic. Full-blown diabetes, these are people who struggle because their sugars are north of 126, sometimes 130, 140, etc. in the morning. So if your numbers are consistently over 100, it's a warning that there is a deeper issue going on. And I know what you might be thinking. I don't check my sugars. Is this something I should do? I haven't been labeled as diabetic. I'm going to tell you the best thing you can start doing for your global health is start looking at the metrics of your body. $20, $25 to buy a blood sugar meter at Walgreens, Rite Aid, etc. One of the best investments you can make in your health, because if you start checking your sugars every morning, you can find a trend before it becomes diagnosed, and that means you can correct it once you take the proper methods. So I highly recommend you start looking at your blood sugars in the morning and finding out where do you fluctuate, because if 37 million Americans are diagnosed already type 2 diabetic, often taking metformin or glucophage or some sort of new peptide to try to fix their sugars, you might fall in that category of people who have a pre-diabetic condition, but you know nothing about it. Diabetes, like most things, is a silent disease. You can't feel your blood sugar, so we have to start testing. You would be amazed the number of people that have blood sugars north of 100 on a regular basis and don't know it. So the first thing you can start doing is know your numbers and know how your body's responding on a daily basis. Number 2, and this is something most people have never been tested for, is the amount of insulin floating around in their blood. This is where things get interesting. Most doctors never test for insulin, even if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic. Fasting insulin should be below 5 units per milliliter. Most diabetics, often we see 10 to 15, even 20. And here's the conundrum. It's an indication the pancreas is working on overtime, hyper-secreting insulin. And you might think to yourself, well, if my insulin levels are high, shouldn't my blood sugars be low? But what we find is it's a resistance. It's the fact that that insulin floating around doesn't work. And so your brain makes the pancreas work extra hard to push even more insulin out. High levels of insulin over time is a major warning that diabetes is already happening. And as we've discussed in multiple shows before, insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone. It is the main cause for elevated blood pressure, the main cause for elevated cholesterol, the main reason for global inflammation in your body. And if you really, truly want to attack your health, we've got to start working on getting your insulin levels down and also finding out where they are. This is a test that's a very simple blood test. You can ask your prescribing physicians to start doing this. You could work with a holistic doctor. You can get your insulin levels tested very quickly. And later in the show, we're going to discuss how do we lower fasting blood sugars and how we lower insulin and how do we get our A1C back on track. The other thing about A1C is it's a number most diabetics know, but I don't think they truly understand the significance of it. It is an estimated average of how high your sugars have been over the last 3 months. And I want you to think of it as like the percentage of your red blood cells that are coated with sugar such that they cannot carry oxygen. So if it's below 5.7%, then we know that your average fasting sugars are good and there's a low likelihood of having diabetes. If it's between 5.7 and 6.4, however, a lot of people will say, oh, that's pretty good. That's not a diabetic range, but that's still pre-diabetes. Anything over 6.5 shows you're struggling with your sugars, you've had chronic high blood sugars, and more than likely you have elevated insulin. So now what we have to discuss is what is the root cause of this? Why are sugars elevating for most of us? And again, as I told you at the top of the hour, it's not because you're necessarily eating too much sugar. It's because your body's reaction and how you metabolize sugar is broken down. And by the way, these top 5 causes are reviewed completely in the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook, which you can grab for free right now. Simply text the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. And hey, as a bonus, I'll invite you to our Masterclass on solving diabetes. It's on Saturday, March 8th, 10 a.m. in the morning. And again, we're going to have hundreds of people joining us online to figure out how they can take control of their blood sugars and their insulin and potentially break away from this condition known as diabetes. What are the top 5 functional causes that no one's talking about? Cause number 1 is a big one. It's known as neurological induced diabetes. Think of it as a subluxation or a misalignment of the spine that is physically irritating the nervous system and how it regulates pancreatic function and liver function for the conversion of sugar into energy. I'm going to say this is something that 99% of doctors are not talking about. It's about how your nervous system and your spine is indirectly connected to your blood sugar levels. There is a direct nerve connection between the thoracic spine, T7, 8, and 9, smack dab in the middle of your back, and your pancreas. If you have a subluxation, which is a misalignment of the spine that puts pressure on the nerves in the middle part of your back, the signal from the brain to the pancreas is interfered with, and that can cause the pancreas to either increase or decrease its function. And often what we see in the beginning is a hypersecretion of insulin, and that's due to the nerve irritation. Then over time, eventually that insulin level starts to drop. And what they're now claiming is that a lot of type 2 diabetics, because they've had such high levels of insulin for long periods of time, get to the point of having pancreatic insufficiency. Listen to this. In 2018, a study that was published in the Journal of Clinical Chiropractic Medicine found that patients who receive chiropractic care in the middle portion of their spine, T7, 8, and 9, saw massively improved glucose metabolism, blood sugar starting to stabilize. I've even seen case studies of people, and even in our clinic, we've had patients come in, get the proper correct neurological correction of their spine and their nervous system, and have their blood sugars drop significantly by doing nothing but simply adding chiropractic care to the routine. So if you have diabetes, I believe it's an absolute must that you need to get your spine checked, because if you think about it, your brain and your nervous system run every single organ in your body. If there's an interference in how your brain is communicating with your pancreas or your liver, your metabolism of sugars can suffer from that. Specifically, the most important region is T7 through T9. That is the neurological control of the pancreas. And if you can't receive the right nerve signals through the middle of your back, it can lead to insulin production problems, thus being cause number 1 of why so many people are walking around with diabetes, because they may have a neurogenic, undiagnosed subluxation connection. A lot of structural chiropractors are trained in doing spinal thermography, digital x-rays, postural exams and evaluations, and they can find these subluxations and help you to eliminate them to get your neurological power back on track, and you can start healing and watching your blood sugars decrease. Cause number 2 is another big one. It's the toxin-induced insulin resistance. And I want you to think about this. It's a description of why insulin isn't working in the first place. This is the second hidden cause of diabetes and is a massive overload for most people. Heavy metals like arsenic, mercury, and lead, herbicides like glyphosate, which is found in a lot of food products, and even various medications that we take for our condition can lead to a buildup of toxins within the body. A Journal of American Medical Association study found that people with heavy metals, specifically lead and arsenic, had an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, and here's why. These heavy metals and pesticides, as they float around within your bloodstream, attach themselves to the insulin receptor, and like a key getting stuck inside of a door, they don't let go. So if that insulin receptor is blunted, as insulin is trying to land on the receptor, it can't because it's blocked. So therefore, we don't push any sugar into the cell to burn for energy. Therefore, insulin levels start to climb, and therefore, blood sugar levels start to climb. It is known as a version of induced insulin resistance because of having a toxin interfering with the receptor at the cellular level. There are many ways to find out if you have this. One of the most popular is simply getting a heavy metal and or toxin assessment done. In our clinic, we use a hair test. It looks for toxins and heavy metals, and it tells us the amount of them in your body. We can then identify them and help you to come up with a specific targeted detox process. And over time, what you'll see is the insulin sensitivity increases, and therefore your body can burn sugar at a faster rate. Third cause is a big one. We could do an entire show on this. It's the fact that leaky gut and microbiome imbalance leads to an autoimmunity that can over time start to attack the insulin receptors in and of itself. So here's where your gut health comes in connection with this. You have an intestinal lining that should be extremely tight, like a sealed net. But when we eat gluten and sugar and processed foods and we expose ourselves to toxins, this gut lining breaks down over time, allowing what are known as lipopolysaccharides, or these kind of like microbiome components that get into the bloodstream and cause an inflammatory reaction as they leak across the gut lining to the bloodstream. This triggers an immune response that can start to activate antibodies. And now what the new research is showing is that there is a floating level of circulating antibodies in certain diabetics where they're attacking the insulin receptor, meaning your body is literally attacking the ability for you to burn sugar for energy. One of the most important ways of correcting this is going through a leaky gut rebuild program, which I'll explain to you in the second half of the show. But just know that if you've never been tested for a gut leak, there are simple at-home urinary tests that can show us the degree and the depth of how leaky your intestine is and the degree and the depth of the autoimmunity. Solving an autoimmunity is not a simple thing, but yet when you find the root cause of it, you can start to repair the intestinal lining. That can start to help to get rid of toxins. That helps to let the insulin levels start to become more adapted. The receptors start to work better, and your blood sugars can start to come down. Cause number 4, massive dysfunction. This is something we see in about 90% of people we test that consistently say, I don't know what the cause of my diabetes is. I've been injecting insulin, or I'm taking now the semaglutides and the GLP-1 agonists, or they're using something like a swallowed medication, metformin, glucophage, Actos, etc. It is a simple breakdown of the mitochondrial function of the body. Look, you have to remember this. Mitochondria in your body act as micro batteries. They take sugars, fats, and proteins and turn them into energy. These powerhouses within inside of your cells determine if you burn sugar or fat for energy. And if they're damaged because of either a highly inflamed diet, stress that is unresolved, toxins, etc., your body gets stuck in what's called a rapid sugar burning state, where you have to push excessive amounts of sugar across the cell membranes to keep those mitochondria working, and that leads to a level of insulin resistance over time. Insulin is inflammatory. If it starts to irritate the intestinal lining and create a gut leak, then we get antibody reactions that start attacking the receptors. And then what happens is our cells don't get the sugar that they need, so the mitochondria start to break down, and then it leads to a greater result of insulin resistance. In 2017, a study published by the New England Journal of Medicine showed that if the mitochondria are even deficient by any amount, damaged mitochondria, it is a known root cause of type 2 diabetes being induced. So we have mitochondrial dysfunction, we have leaky gut, we have toxin-induced heavy metal resistance, we have the fact that a neurological subluxation could be present in the spine. And guys, what this does is it leads to chronic stress, cause number 5. Every single time your body is under an inflamed state, under insulin resistance, under a nature of an autoimmune attack, you're leading into what's known as a chronic stress state. This, of course, results in excessive secretion of cortisol, which in and of itself can elevate blood sugar. The more cortisol we have floating around in our body, the more inflamed we are. The more inflamed we are, the more our pancreas has to work harder to produce the insulin that we need, and our body swells, and we can't get the sugar into the cell because the receptors are blunted or blocked. In 2001, there was a study that found that chronic stresses spike blood sugar levels, leading to insulin resistance and leading to cortisol secretions that elevates the inflammatory response within the body. So if you have diabetes, stress management is a non-negotiable. If you have diabetes, finding out the amount of mitochondrial dysfunction is a non-negotiable. And the challenge of today, guys, is most conventional physicians don't test mitochondrial function. They're not looking for leaky gut. They're not assessing your toxins and your heavy metal assessments. So there are ways you can do this by using functional and integrative medicine. I mean, I'm thinking right now of several patients that we've had came in with type 2 diabetes. We ran microbiome tests. We look at toxicity levels. We did neurological assessments. We find the subluxations, the root interferences, and then we develop a custom treatment program of either cellular detoxification, chiropractic and spinal restoration, dietary coaching, supplementation to help nourish the body. And we have seen people kick diabetes from a pre-diabetic range to normal in as little as 3 months. I've seen type 2 diabetics who've been relying on insulin and taking medications be able to control their sugars in as little as 3 to 6 months, even getting A1C levels to drop to normal, even seeing insulin levels drop to normal, and watching fasting blood sugars go. Sometimes, as our patients have said, I've never seen them in double digits in years. The reason for this is we don't look at it as a superficial condition. We're not going to blame the elevated blood sugar as the problem. We're going to look at that as a symptom and say, okay, if your sugar is elevated, there is a root cause. And if it is one of these 5, you have to discover which one it is so you can do the correct therapies to fix that. Neurological subluxations are floating around in about 90% of Americans. And they don't feel it because it's not enough to put a pressure on the nerve to result in a painful effect. Instead, what it does is it shuts off the function of the nerve. So we start to see irritation and inflammation at the region of the subluxation. Because the pancreas is so actively involved in diabetes, it's often misoverlooked. That ache and that pain in the middle part of your back that you just wish you could get a good massage or just roll it out at night, that could potentially be a subluxation interfering with the T7, 8, and 9 regions that's having your brain tell your pancreas the amount of insulin to secrete. What if it is simply over-secreting insulin, causing a resistance because the nerve is involved and you've never taken a look at your neurological health? What if it's the fact that you've been exposed to pesticides or toxins or heavy metals? Maybe you have a filling in your mouth, or you've been eating lots of high mercury-laden fish and you've never had the assessment done to find out if you have a toxin interfering with the insulin receptor. More than likely, again, your gut could be leaking and you don't even know it. And it leads to an autoimmunity that can attack the receptor. And without getting the proper testing, you would never know if your gut was leaking in the first place. We do know that modern American diets, high in grains and lectins and sugars and processed foods, can inflame the intestines. And I'm going to just be blunt and honest with you. 90% of people that I work with here in the local Charlotte area, they have a leaky gut, they have toxicities, they have subluxation, but they had no idea it was happening to them. I'm telling you, one of the greatest things you can do right now is download the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook. It explains the tests. It explains the process. It shows you the methods of how you can take control of your health right now and see your blood sugars level and your insulin levels start to come back again. And you can take control of your health. It's that easy. Mitochondrial dysfunction, you almost always have to get tested for it. We use a urinary test that looks at every major marker within mitochondrial metabolism. We can discover if there's too many acids floating around the cells, if your body's regulating your insulin response properly. We can look to see if the mitochondria need a reboot, and often it's simply just using supplemental supports to get your mitochondria back on track again. When it comes to chronic stress, this is a big one. We have to find out, what are we doing as far as stress management? One of the greatest de-stressors that I know of is getting chiropractic care to release your spine because it drives the chronic stress in your body. Working on your diet so we can go through an anti-inflammatory process. Getting tested so you can find your underlying root cause and removing the interferences, which then allows your body to do exactly what it was programmed to do, which is heal by itself. So we've uncovered the 5 causes of diabetes. Now guess what? None of them were because you're eating too much sugar. Now here's the exciting part. In the next half of the show today, we're going to discuss the natural solutions that you can start implementing today to address these 5. So don't go anywhere. When we come back from this commercial break, we're going to reverse insulin resistance. We're going to work on healing diabetes, and we're going to help your body to finally take control so you can start seeing your fasting sugars drop. You can see your weight start to change. You can see your energy start to come back, and it comes from addressing those 5 root causes. Hey, as the commercials are coming up, pick up your phone, text the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. I'll shoot you over a free copy of the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook, which has all the testing we just described. It has all the methods of regulation. It has the top 5 herbs to help you control your sugars. All of this is free. And don't forget, you get to join us for the Masterclass on Saturday, March 8th, Diabetes Heal Thyself, where you can finally take control and become your own doctor and watch your sugars stabilize, your insulin levels start to normalize, your weight start to come off, your energy start to come back, and you can take control of this condition that so many people are just managing rather than resolving. Again, 704-906-2094. Text your name, your email and the word diabetes, and we'll send that over to you. Hey, it's the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Like most sustainable products, sustainable coffee production is not only healthy for the environment, but it's also healthy for the body. Like our commitment to purity in every cup, our focus extends beyond taste to encompass the health of consumers and the environment. At Purity Coffee, the journey from farm to cup should be as pure and sustainable as the coffee itself. Our farmers adhere to rigorous organic farming practices, ensuring our beans are free from harmful chemicals and pesticides.
We try to make organic coffee, even though we didn't know it was organic. We just were not using chemicals or anything like it. We weren't really interested on chemicals. We wanted to have something healthy, something without needs of chemicals. That's why we went into, by then didn't exist the word organic, I think. We're talking about on the 70s. So nowadays we know the new words, organic, sustainable, and all that. We try to do all that regardless. We didn't do it for any purpose specifically, but we did it because it's the natural things to do. We live on the farm. We have a lot of workers who are thriving to make things better every time. And they love the fact of the challenge of what to do with some waste, what to better up things, what to recycle, what to reuse.
I'm Whitney, a dietitian and diabetes educator, and you may be surprised to know that I actually recommend for my patients to drink coffee. Coffee is actually one of the richest sources of antioxidants in the Western diet. Chlorogenic acid, one of the antioxidants found in coffee, helps not only fight inflammation, which can be the root cause of so many chronic diseases, but it actually can help improve blood sugar balance. Because chlorogenic acid reduces carbohydrate absorption, it can reduce blood sugar spikes at mealtimes.
But our dedication to health doesn't stop there. Purity Coffee is not just about a great cup of coffee. It's about a commitment to protecting the environment for future generations. By partnering with sustainable farms and investing in carbon neutral practices, we minimize our ecological footprint and promote a healthier planet for all. As consumers, we have the power to drive positive change through our choices. By choosing Purity Coffee, you're not just supporting your own health, you're also championing a movement towards sustainability and environmental responsibility. So why settle for anything less than pure? Choose Purity Coffee and join us on a journey towards a healthier you and a healthier planet. Because when it comes to coffee, purity is the ultimate quality measure.
Wine is a fermented beverage that has been enjoyed by humanity for over 8,000 years. Our ancestors believed in its magical healing powers. Philosophers turned to it to spur new ideas and encourage lively debate. Wine has been a well-studied part of our history, but recently it's changed. The wines sold today in most stores and restaurants are not the same wines enjoyed by our ancestors. Today, wine is a highly processed, factory-made product filled with toxins and industrial additives. The grapes are farmed with machines and heavy pesticide use, and the marketing is misleading and dishonest. Wines free from this human intervention still exist. They're called natural wines. These wines are a return to the old way of making and enjoying wine. Free from commercial additives, high sugar, and heavy alcohol content, these wines are a beautiful expression of nature. They're also extremely rare. Less than 1% of the world's wines are grown to this standard. They are made in hyper-small quantities by family farmers who work by hand using ancient practices. When you drink them, all this becomes clear. You'll notice a completely new wine experience. This is the kind of wine that derive from wine sources. We search the globe looking for pure natural wines, carefully nurtured by family growers who work with nature, and we take it a step further, sourcing wines that meet our strict criteria for farming, purity, and taste. We only work with organically grown wines, farmed without irrigation and without heavy machinery. Grapes are hand-picked and then fermented using native wild yeast, not the industry standard GMO yeasts. Our wines are pure, lab tested by an independent enologist for metrics including alcohol and sugar. They also taste extraordinary, bright, fresh, and full of life. They jump out of the glass because they aren't sterilized or heavily processed.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy Saturday. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. My name is Dr. Ernst, and all during the top of the hour, we've been discussing this concept of diabetes, how it doesn't have to be a forever condition, how you can take control right now and watch your blood sugars start to lower, watch your A1C change over time, even see fasting insulin levels come down. We're talking about a condition that affects so many Americans today, and most people have been told it's either because you eat too much sugar, you have bad genes, you have bad luck, but I'm here today to tell you it's because of an underlying either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 cause condition that we talked about at the top of the hour. Hey, if you're just tuning in, all during the show today, I am giving away the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook. It is a functional guide to reversing type 1, 2, and even type 3 diabetes, which is a new version that they're now saying affects brain functionality. Cognitive decline, dementia, possibly even Alzheimer's is where we're not using sugar in the brain properly, and we start to get the cognitive effects. This ebook is yours completely free. Just text the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. As a bonus, you'll also get access to a masterclass that I'm hosting Saturday, March 8th. It's at 10 a.m. in the morning. Join us. I'm going to show you how you can find out the underlying root cause of if you have prediabetes, diabetes, or any fasting blood sugar levels. You can reset that quickly. We talked about how many of us are not checking our blood sugars on a regular basis, so we might not even know if we have this condition. That if your sugar is north of 100 in the morning when waking up, your eyebrows should wake up. You should start thinking, oh gosh, I am already developing a level of insulin resistance. If you're seeing fasting sugars north of 125, it is time to take action. That would be diagnosed diabetes. And if you're consistently seeing numbers over 100, you can watch those drop quickly. We talked about how most conventional physicians are not actually looking at your insulin levels, which is the most important hormone in understanding the root cause behind insulin resistance and diabetes. Fasting insulin levels should be low, 5 units per milliliter or less. And yet most people are sitting at 10, 15, 20, even 30, which shows us your pancreas is working on overtime hypersecreting insulin because of a resistance. And high insulin is a first warning that we see before blood sugars often go up. Elevated A1C, also a very common marker that is assessed with diabetes. It is a measurement of the percentage of your red blood cells that are coated with sugar so they can't carry oxygen. If you're seeing things over 6.5, diagnosed as diabetes. If it's between 5.7 and 6.4, pre-diabetic. And here's the challenge. Most of us are not getting the correct numbers assessed. We're not looking at it daily. And because diabetes falls in that silent condition, we end up with it in the future because we never looked at it to get started with. The top 5 functional causes we discussed: subluxation of the spine, how it affects the thoracic nerves between T7 and T9 and the upper cervical vagal nerves, which is the direct communication that your brain uses to let your pancreas make insulin at the correct amounts. We talked about how insulin resistance can be induced by toxins, specifically heavy metals and herbicides that are found in our food products. When these heavy metals and herbicides bind to the receptor for insulin, it blocks it almost as if you're taking a key to your front door, trying to open it, but someone came before you and broke their key off in the door. You can't put your key in the door. You can't open the door. If heavy metals and toxins are inside the receptors of the insulin response, the insulin cannot land and open to allow for sugar to flow into the cell to be burned for energy. Therefore, we see high levels of blood sugar when fasting. We discussed how leaky gut is a major player behind type 2 diabetes and even fasting insulin levels, and how most people are not addressing their gut and their potential autoimmunity properly. They're now finding out that there is what's known as an insulin receptor antibody, that if you have high levels of insulin receptor antibody, you're physically attacking the insulin receptor, causing damage to it, which means the insulin that you secrete does not work and sugars continuously elevate. We also discussed that a very common condition that most people have, which is a mitochondrial dysfunction, a metabolic disorder, where they're not burning sugars and fats effectively. So therefore, there's a breakdown in the metabolism, and what we start to see is an elevation in risk factors for type 2 diabetes. Even the New England Journal of Medicine says damaged mitochondria are a known root cause of type 2 diabetes. And here's my question for you. Are you getting your mitochondria tested? Are you getting your leaky gut assessed to see if it's got a microbiome breakdown or a gut leak? Are you looking at the amount of toxins and heavy metals floating around within your blood and your tissues? Are you having a structural chiropractor assess your spine to look for subluxations? Because if you're not, you're missing the mark of a major root cause of type 2 diabetes and even prediabetes, which then leads to stress and cortisol dysregulation. So now that we know the top 5, let's discuss the corrective methods for it. And listen, everything I'm going to review with you today is in the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook. You can grab this right now for free. Just simply text your name, your email, and the word diabetes to 704-906-2094. And again, we'll give you free access to the masterclass that I'm hosting on Saturday, March 8th, where I will take you and hundreds of people live through an online event on a process of reversing and correcting your blood sugars. So now that we know what the top 5 are, how do we go about fixing this? And how do you find the right types of tests and things to do this? So we're going to discuss the exact natural strategies you can start using today to correct these root issues. These are science-backed functional medicine solutions that can help you to reverse insulin resistance, lower your blood sugars naturally, and again, in many cases, even get rid of a condition to start with. So fixing neurological subluxations. Okay, we have to start with the spine because that's where all of your energy and your healing comes from. Remember, the nerves in your middle of your back, T7, 8, and 9, directly control your pancreas. And if there is a spinal misalignment known as subluxation, the signal from the brain does not go through that region of your spine properly, and the pancreas cannot function because it's missing its neurological control. So what's the solution to this? A structural-based chiropractic approach to reset the spinal alignment and reverse the stress on the subluxated nerves. A study published in the Chiropractic Clinical Medicine Journal found that diabetics who received regular chiropractic care experienced significantly improved glucose metabolism and better insulin sensitivity. Now, let's just pause there for a second. How many of you have been taking a medication for your blood sugars for 5, 10, 15 years and have never heard the fact that if you go to a chiropractor and you get your nervous system corrected, you can see an improvement in your blood sugar levels? I guarantee you it's probably few and far between. Yet, in most chiropractic clinics, we see this kind of correction all the time. We're not saying that a subluxation is causing diabetes. What we're saying is that a misregulated nervous system, which is causing nerve interference, disconnects your brain from your organs properly, and that can lead to a dysregulation of your insulin response. Now, finding the correct kind of chiropractor is unique. I would recommend that you look for what's called a functional structural chiropractor, someone who understands how adjustments affect global metabolic health rather than it just being a pain in your spine or a muscle spasm in your back. A lot of chiropractors will say subluxations are causing discomfort in your spine. You might say to yourself, but I don't have discomfort in my back, so how would I know if I have a subluxation? You have to get the correct types of testing. A functional chiropractor will often do some level of spinal thermography. If the spine is out of alignment, it'll create muscle spasms and contractions, which creates heat, and that's detected usually through thermal cameras. A spinal thermography can help the doctors to hone in on which regions of your spine are the most interfered with. Then they do an orthoneuro exam. Then they often take x-rays, and the x-rays can be definitive to help them find where the misalignment is. And then here's the next step. Getting an adjustment isn't just a once and done thing. It has to be, if you're out of alignment, corrected over time back into the normal alignment pattern, which can take sometimes 3, 6, 9 months. Once your nerves are firing correctly, your pancreas receives proper neurological supply, and it can improve its response to blood sugars and insulin, which helps to enhance overall function. Number 2, we talked about toxins inducing insulin resistance, how they get stuck in the receptor. So what we need to do is is to identify which toxin it is, which requires testing, and then go through a chelative detox process to pull that out. When we talk about specifically heavy metals and glyphosate, one of the greatest tests you can have done is a hair test, which looks for toxic metals and minerals. It'll do aluminum, barium, arsenic, lead, cadmium. It's a very simple test. You simply take a small amount of the hair off the back of your neck, you drop it in an envelope, you ship it out to a private lab, and you'll get a report back in about 3 to 5 days that shows you exactly the amount of metals in your body. In 2011, the Alternative Medicine Review found that people with high levels of lead, arsenic, and mercury, listen to this, had a 300 times more likelihood of having type 2 diabetes. Again, why? Metals tend to get stuck in the receptors. If insulin receptor is blocked, insulin itself cannot land on the receptor and push sugar into the cell. So therefore, the sugars pile up outside of the cell, not because you're necessarily eating too much sugar, not because of bad genes, but just because of global toxicity affecting it. How do we remove this? Well, knowing the type of metal is important because there are different chelators and binders for this. One of the most popular is what's known as magnesium EDTA chelation. It pulls heavy metals deep from within the tissues of your body and can actually help to pull them out of the insulin receptor and let it clear through natural processes. Over-the-counter foods, for example, chlorella and cilantro are known to be strong detox binders. You can start adding these to juices in the morning. You can start incorporating them into your diet. You can even take them as a direct supplement, which can help to pull mercury and lead from the body. Activated charcoals and bentonite clays. These are binders that help to trap and eliminate glyphosate and pesticides. Again, very simple. You can take them as supplements. You can incorporate them into drinks. You can use them as detoxification processes, and it can help to remove chemicals from your body. Certain nutrients like fulvic acids and zeolites and humeric minerals can also help to remove toxins from the body. These are often found in many detox products. So if you have diabetes, it is a high suggestion that you start detoxing heavy metals, and your insulin receptors can start to heal so they become opened and less blunted, and then their sensitivity increases. And again, if you want some more information about the kinds of testing that are available to you, simply download the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook. Text the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. We'll zip that over to you today, and you'll also get free access to the Masterclass that we're hosting on Saturday, March 8th. Now, when it comes to cause number 3, healing from a leaky gut and restoring your microbiome, we have to talk about this primarily because this is the often biggest component we see with people due to the lack of proper diet and due to taking medications which cause irritation and damage to it. I'd like to give you what's called the 4R protocol for reversing inflammation within your intestines and helping your gut to seal. Step number 1, remember, a study published in the Diabetes Journal found that if you have type 2 diabetes, most of them had 50% less bacteria in their intestines compared to those who did not have diabetes. They've even done studies on this where they've taken genetically induced diabetic mice and taken the bacteria out of their intestines and put it into non-genetically induced diabetic mice, so mice that are healthy, and those healthy mice become diabetic. Now, on the flip side, they've taken the bacteria from the healthy mice and put it into the genetically induced diabetic mice, and they've seen restoration and correction of sugars. The hint here is that the type of bacteria in your intestines determines the health of your gut, which determines the health of your insulin sensitivity and your likelihood for diabetes. So the 4R step is to, number 1, remove. We have to remove the foods and the various components that cause irritation to the intestines. The top list of things to remove, number 1, alcohol. Number 2, gluten. It's a protein found in a lot of grains, including wheat and barley and rye, and many gluten contaminants like oats and rice. We need to watch out for food additives, emulsifiers, and solvents and dyes, refined starches or sugars. This is going to be your processed foods and processed sugars. Watch out for vegetable oils, margarine, certain baked and or fried foods, because seed oils are known to induce a significant amount of inflammation within the intestinal lining, which leads to a breakdown of the barrier. And we want to watch out what are known as food sensitivities. One of the easiest ways to know if you have a food sensitivity is if you're eating something and all of a sudden your nose starts to run, you're getting kind of like that food sniffle, you are more than likely sensitive to a food that you're eating. You can also find food sensitivities if you are tracking your blood sugars. If I eat a meal and my sugar shoots through the roof more than it should, then I'm exposing myself to a food that I'm sensitive to. So step number 1 is remove. We have to get rid of the things that cause the irritation to the intestine. Then number 2, we have to replace those with nutrients and foods that actually nourish the intestine. Bone broth, high fiber foods, nuts and seeds, fermented foods, omega-3 fatty acids found in fish and fish oils, extra virgin olive oils, coconut oils, anti-inflammatory herbs and spices, turmeric, rosemary, garlic. These are all active components that can help you to repair the intestine lining. Then number 3, we have to re-inoculate. Remember, most of us have an overgrowth with too much bacteria in our intestine, and it causes an inflammatory response. So if we use probiotic supplements or fermented foods like cultured dairies, kefirs, and kombuchas, and sauerkrauts, and unpasteurized pickles, and kimchi, and even beverages like, again, kombuchas and kvases, all the fermented foods plus the use of a well-rounded probiotic can re-inoculate and help to nourish the intestine, which can stop it from leaking. Then the final step, of course, is to repair. And I'm going to give you the specific list of nutrients that are known to help to repair your intestine. You can start incorporating these into your daily routine and see significant healing take place quickly. Zinc, L-glutamine, vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, marshmallow root, olive oils, aloe veras, and D-glycerinated licorice, or DGL. These components and these nutrients are known to help seal the intestine, decrease the inflammation, and allow for your body to start repairing itself so we get less of that autoimmunity nature of attacking the insulin receptor. Number 4, we have to talk about your mitochondria. And this is a big one. Most of us have never put any energy or focus into repairing our mitochondria simply because we either didn't even know it's something we need to do or we didn't know that we had the condition in the first place. Because the cells of your body rely on the mitochondria for energy and functionality, a deficiency in mitochondria not only leads to a breakdown in sugar metabolism, but it can cause an impairment in all major metabolic function. The New England Journal of Medicine has a study that found impaired mitochondrial function is the primary driver behind diabetes. So how do we fix the mitochondria? The number 1 way to start boosting mitochondrial function is to begin to intermittently fast. I talk about this almost on every single show because intermittent fasting not only boosts your mitochondria, it helps to activate fat burning. It can induce a state of cleanliness where your body cleans the cells that are destroyed. It's known as autophagy. It helps to induce a ketotic state, which makes you burn fat again for energy instead of sugar. And it helps to regulate your metabolism. A couple things that can stimulate this in addition to just doing intermittent fasting, starting to expose yourself to a cold shower in the morning. It upregulates your metabolism, it stimulates the mitochondria, and it helps you to burn sugar properly and fat properly. Mitochondrial supports, very simple. CoQ10, alpha lipoic acid, magnesium, and something called PQQ, which often comes with CoQ10. Those 5 nutrients will help to upregulate the mitochondrial function, and you can begin to start burning carbohydrates at a more efficient rate, start burning fats at a more efficient rate, and you'll start to see things like your sugars go down, your A1C go down, and your inflammation go down. One of the greatest diets to help stimulate your mitochondria is the ever popular carnivore diet. It is a low-carb, high-quality protein, high-quality fat diet that in the research has been shown to even improve mitochondrial function and insulin sensitivity. It is exactly as it sounds. We start to decrease the amount of fruit. We start to decrease the amount of vegetables. We increase our reliance upon clean animal proteins, wild-caught fish, free-range chicken, turkey, poultry, duck, grass-finished, grass-fed red meats, and we're sticking mostly with animal-based proteins as our consumption. The fats and the proteins that come from those will help to stimulate the mitochondria, and it is one of the fastest ways to start to see your blood sugar drop. Number 5, we talked about stress and our cortisol response. So we have to remember that every single time you're stressed, your body's releasing cortisol, which raises blood sugar. Every time you put something in your mouth, you increase the insulin sensitivity. You increase the amount of insulin flowing around your blood. Insulin and cortisol are like best buds. When they start to elevate, mitochondrial dysfunction starts to kick in, metabolic dysfunction is on par, and you will have a very difficult time lowering your blood sugars. A 2001 study found that chronically stressed individuals had a 50% more likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes than those who were not. And one of the greatest ways to induce stress reduction in the body, in my opinion, is removing spinal subluxations, letting the neurological pathways of your spine flow freely so they're not stressed, your nervous system isn't stressed, and then therefore you're not stressed. You can also do some techniques to help lower cortisol naturally. Adaptogenic herbs work exceptionally well for this. Ashwagandha, rhodiola, holy basil, all of these are designed to naturally downregulate cortisol. You can begin to do what's called deep breathing and or box breathing with meditation. Just taking 10 minutes a day of doing a box breath, 4 to 6 seconds inhaled, 4 to 6 seconds held, 4 to 6 seconds exhaled. Repeating this pattern can help to lower cortisol levels drastically. One of the greatest ways you can do this passively at night is to simply start grounding yourself. You can get what's called a grounding sheet, which is where you lay on it at night, and it allows your body to ground, to discharge, to reset the neurological pathways by connecting yourself to the earth through the grounding wires of your house. Or you can simply start to go outside and walk barefoot. There's research showing that the more time we spend in nature physically touching it, the more we see our cortisol levels go down. We can also work on prioritizing sleep. One of the biggest things we see that elevates most people's cortisol is we're not sleeping efficiently through the night, or we're not getting the correct amount of hours that we need for sleep per night. Focusing on sleep hygiene and or sleep methods can help to increase your response to insulin. It helps to lower your cortisol levels. So the final takeaways for today. Number 1, I would download the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook, as it contains every single thing I discussed with you as a summary today, plus all the nutrients and herbs you need to help regulate your blood sugars. You can do that right now by texting the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. We'll zip that over to you for free today, and you can join us for the Diabetes Heal Thyself Masterclass Saturday, March 8th, 100% free. It's you and me, and let me take you through the process, get you connected with the right kinds of testings, help you find providers in your local area that can do what you need so you can begin to heal yourself. So remember, diabetes is not just a sugar problem. It is a multi-system breakdown involving spinal misalignments, toxicity, gut dysfunction, mitochondrial damage and or irritation, and chronic stress. You can take control of your blood sugars naturally by correcting these root causes, and functional medicine, structural chiropractic, is one of the greatest ways to give yourself the tools necessary to not just manage your condition, but also reverse it. So what's the important next step? Download the Diabetes Heal Thyself ebook. Every single step of what you need to start the journey towards reversing diabetes is found in this ebook. Simply text again the word diabetes plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. And don't forget my free diabetes masterclass, Saturday, March 8th. Take an option to opt in right now. Grab the ebook, join us for the masterclass, and you are on the right steps and the journey towards resolving your elevated blood sugars, even insulin resistance and diabetes. Thanks for tuning in today. It's been an absolute honor for you guys to be here with me today. If you'd like more information about the Ask Dr. Ernst approach or the clinics that we are incorporated with in the Charlotte area, visit AskDrErnst.com. And we also have personalized healing plans. There's an entire recipe pack for you available. It's all free online. Just simply do that today. AskDrErnst.com. My name is Dr. Aaron Ernst. Thanks for tuning into the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. And remember, your health is in your hands. With the right tools, you can heal yourself naturally. I'll see you guys next week as we continue the journey towards resolving diabetes now. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.